are hot. Such an over. Ooh, goodness. Bum, 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 bum. We're back. Welcome into Hardcore Penn State Football. Special guest joining the show. West Shore Home. Have you heard of them? You're about to. The founder and CEO of West Shore Home, BJ Werzyn, will be joining the show here in about, call it 22 minutes or so, to talk about the field at Beaver Stadium and its naming rights now belonging to West Shore Home in a monumental deal. Also, we got to play catch up a little bit. Potentially the sleepiest NFL Combine ever. Saquon, Gesicki, Godwin all get new NFL deals. Some winter workout news as well. Thank you for being here. Let's get right into the show. Welcome into Hardcore Penn State Football. I'm Cory Lestochi. With me, as always, the great Shawn Kane. How are you doing today, Shawn?
Doing good, Cory. Beautiful day here in Scranton.
Beautiful here in State College. I mean, it is cold snapped. I mean, that's the name of the show for a reason.
Yeah, it's about 52 degrees and sunny. There's not a cloud in the sky. And yesterday, my fiance, she had her bridal shower and got a beautiful day for that too. It was a little colder than today, but still very, very nice. So we've been good weather-wise, especially considering how brutally cold the winter was.
Yeah, I picked up over a 5-gallon bucket worth of dog shit on Sunday.
Oh, that's good.
So I'm full summer mode now. Like they got the outdoor furniture out, you know. I'm full sending. So hopefully we're done with the snow.
Well, most of the big snowstorms in my life have come in March, so
appreciate that, Shawn.
I'm really praying for it. No, but if it, I think it's supposed to be pretty warm all week though. So even if we do get snow, like next week, if the ground's warm, you're not going to accumulate that much.
I don't even want it to be in the forecast. I don't think you're understanding what I'm saying. Still, if people aren't aware, and my wife will make fun of me for even bringing this up, but if I lose all vocal ability, off.
Oh, as soon as Cory said that, we lost his vocal ability.
But you can still hear me, right?
I can still hear you, yep.
Okay. I will fix that in a second. I am just like doing the best I can. So if I go out for some reason, that's why. Not because my computer is deciding to self-destruct at the same time.
Yep, that's okay.
Shawn.
Yeah.
We've got some stuff to talk about. What's been going on in the world of Penn State football lately?
So, as Cory alluded to, the Combine was last week now, or the previous week. I don't know. They're all blended. Yeah, last week. So, limited participation for Penn State Nittany Lion players. Abdul Carter came into the Combine banged up. We knew he had the shoulder issue. That's still a thing. But then it came out that he also has some sort of stress fracture in his foot. And that sounds scary, especially considering there were rumors that he may need surgery. That turned out he does not need surgery. But still, he's going to be a top 3 to 5 pick, might even be the first overall pick. So kind of figured it would be best for him not to participate. Tyler Warren also did not participate. As far as I know, he's not banged up much. But he's also clearly tight end 1, and perhaps he kind of gathers that it could maybe hurt him more than it could help him participating in the Combine. They were both at the Combine, though. They both interviewed. I'm sure they did well in those interviews, but they were both there. But the story of the Combine, if we're going to talk about participants, as Cory tries to get back, looks like you're good now, Cory. Jalen Reed I think got himself some money. Ran a 4.49, and one of the knocks on him, potential knocks, was how fast is he? And honestly, Corey, I thought he would run about a 4.6. I really did. And I like Jalen Reed as a prospect. I think 4.6 is about the minimum that's right around where you'd want to be a little faster than that as a safety. But could you get by if you have some football speed, you have good instincts? You could, and that's what I think Jalen Reed has. But to run a 4.49, I mean, that could get him. I think it does get him in the top 3 rounds now.
Yeah, and Reed is a guy who, in my opinion, just had to do enough at the combine. Like, I feel like what he does on the field is good. They just wanted to confirm it with numbers. It's not like he was a guy going in that had to run well, had to test well in order to have a good draft day. He's done the work on the field. He just needed to confirm some things, testing numbers wise. So the GM and all of his goons can feel good about drafting him, and he check all those boxes. I always think about like the Chris Godwins of the world. Like, what they can do, but like you still want that confirmation with the numbers before you go out and have a huge deal and go ahead and draft somebody like that, especially in the first 3 rounds.
Yeah, and especially at safety, because safeties tend to get overlooked a little bit, unless you're one of those elite guys. I mean, Jair Brown slipped to the 3rd round, and Brisker was also 2nd or 3rd round guy. It escapes me right now where he was drafted, but I know it was 2nd or 3rd round. Whereas the premium positions, receiver these days, corner, edge, quarterback, obviously, they're going to be maybe more forgiving. But if you kind of have a mediocre combine, it could really kill you in the draft process. But that's not what happened with Jalen Reed. Also, another thing to note, Kobe King didn't run. And I think he did participate, but he didn't run. And I do think one of the question marks with him is that 40 time and where he's going to end up. And look, I love Kobe King. Anybody who listens to the show knows I love Kobe King. I do wonder if he's going to be quick enough to have a ton of success at the next level. Like, I think if he played like 15 years ago, I'd have almost no doubt about him. But it's just such a different game now than it was 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah, and I'd be honest, like, can Kobe King go out and play in space all the time?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like, that's a huge concern I have.
That's the key to playing linebacker nowadays. Like, you got to be good at everything. It's not just like being really stout against the run and passing. We'll see what happens. Like, you got to be really good at everything. You got to be a jack of all trades.
I think unless he thought he was going to run very badly, I don't think he helped himself in that regard.
Yeah.
But also
makes you wonder.
Makes you wonder for sure. Just in general, though, Shawn, I just feel like this combine came and went and nobody cared about it. Like, we talk about the combine a lot the last 3 years, and this one just completely kind of went by. And like, I thought at first I was just busy, but then I went back. There's like very little conversation going out. Part of that to do with Abdul Carter waiting to test for Penn State's pro days at the end of the month. But still, like, I don't know, like maybe it's a Penn State thing, but I'm just curious if other fan bases felt the same way, that like this combine wasn't that exciting. I saw that Ohio State quarterback sucked in on the field drills. But otherwise I didn't see very much.
No, I don't even know if Ward and Sanders participate? I don't think so. I don't think they did. And I mean, I know they're definitely the top 2 guys in the draft. Like, I don't know if they'll be the top 2 best guys, but I don't think I know Jackson Dart has been moving up draft boards. And I do believe he participated at least somewhat. And wouldn't shock me if he ended up in the 1st round somewhere. I don't know if he's a 1st round quarterback, but these teams are starving for quarterbacks. So they might end up taking a flyer on him you don't really want to take a flyer on a guy in the 1st round, but they also might think, like, if you're a team like the Steelers, all you Steeler fans, do I think it's a crazy idea to think of them taking Jackson Dart? No, I could see it.
They're going to have Aaron Rodgers, so it's okay.
Well, that's the thing. And Aaron Rodgers is 150 years old, and I bet he kind of sucked last year. Not sucked, but he's just another above average quarterback now. And his team.
No, he stunk.
Yeah. All right, we'll just go. You think so?
Yes, I think he stunk last year. He was not part of the solution with the Jets. Period.
Well, no, I thought the Jets should have got rid of him because I just don't think the juice is worth the squeeze anymore.
No.
Maybe with a team like the Steelers, they just added DK Metcalf. Maybe it could be better. But he's also just kind of a cancer in general.
Yeah, what could go wrong with him, Pickens, DK Metcalf, and yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's quite a. There'll be a lot of personalities in that offense. That's for sure.
All right, we talked NFL Combine. It's just crazy that's basically all that happened there. Real quickly, I just wanted to mention Saquon got a massive deal with the Eagles. More money, I think, guaranteed than he ever got from the Giants. I think that's right. Just a crazy, massive deal that is something that I think just goes to show the difference between the Eagles and Giants organization. This is not a NFL podcast, but it's nice to see Saquon get what he deserves. I saw Mike Gesicki also signed back with the Bengals for another 3 years, which I thought actually a pretty considerable amount of money, given that I didn't really think maybe his market would be that high. And he
got more than I thought he would.
Now everyone's getting a lot more. I saw that Jace Horn, the corner for the Panthers, just got the most ever as a DB, which I think is insane, but whatever. And then I just want to mention too, Chris Godwin allegedly turned down a couple other teams to come back specifically to the Buccaneers. I think he got, I forget the total was, but I think guaranteed was $45 million. So a huge chunk of guaranteed money there for Chris Godwin, probably because he wants to stay in Florida and not pay any income tax on it. But also it's not bad to be in Florida with a decent team. So you got yourself a quarterback, you got yourself a good group of guys, and why would you want to leave? So 3 guys from the 2016 team that went and got not their first, but not their second, but their third contract.
Yeah, Godwin's been there his whole career.
Yeah.
It's a rare thing nowadays, but like you said, Tampa,
especially for receivers.
Yeah, Tampa's a good organization. They've typically well coached. They got a quarterback. I don't think Baker's awesome, but he's good to very good. He's top 10 to 12 guy. Good defense, and like I said, nice weather and no state income tax. So, and I think just being happy with where you're at is a big thing. And then Gesicki, I mean, and really Gesicki had kind of a few years there of, I don't want to say irrelevance, but you didn't really hear from him much. His last year with the Dolphins, he kind of got phased. His last 2 years with the Dolphins, he started to get phased out a little bit. And then with the Patriots, I mean, he didn't have anybody better than Cory or I throwing him the football. So that kind of hurts. And last year he played well. I think he signed basically a prove it contract. And if he didn't prove it, he might have been looking at, hanging it up shortly. But instead he goes, has a good year, and he gets 3 more years and a more rich contract than he's ever gotten. So I think you got to be happy for Big Mike and Saquon. I mean, what else is there to say? Every penny is well deserved for him. And if you're a team like the Eagles, where you have a chance, they just won the Super Bowl, I think they'll compete for it again this year. It's worth paying your running back. A team like the Giants, not worth paying your running back because you guys are too inept. So it's not really worth paying the running back. But if you're a team like the Eagles, you definitely have a Super Bowl window. You're definitely still within your Super Bowl window. Yeah, you got to pay your best guy.
We got about 8 minutes here until BJ Werzyn joins us from West Shore home. One other thing, I feel like last year we talked a lot about winter workouts, and we went into the weeds quite a bit on who was winning what award, and we were pointing out that Drew Aller hadn't won it and whatnot.
Yeah, we start getting the conspiracy theories.
Part of that was we had more winter workouts. That's going to be abbreviated a little bit because spring practice is literally about to start. One thing I wanted to note from winter workouts, nice to see Peter Gonzalez back in the mix, a guy who's had some injury issues and was a guy I was really high on coming out of high school. And even after an injury, I thought he could play a huge role. And I'm very excited to see where he's at and see if he's ready to rock and roll, say starting fall camp. But if they can get some, I feel like we've already moved on. Like I know Kane Saunders is still there and whatnot, but I feel like they've moved on from that class, so to speak, and even the class after that. And a lot of the focus is on, Peter Gonzalez's class and also this freshman class, and they're looking for somebody out of that group to really make a splash.
Yeah, no doubt. The receiver wheel kind of continues to spin and seeing who's gonna step up there. I know Ross and Hudson also got their day in the sun. The guy that's really stood out to me is Elliott Washington winning multiple days. I've always liked what I saw from Elliott Washington. I think he was always just, maybe a little bit more green. He got banged up a couple times, but he's obviously performing very well in winter workouts, and he's competing for that second cornerback job. Now that Kimber is going to be on to the NFL, I could definitely see a scenario where AJ Harris and Elliott Washington are your top two cornerbacks.
Yeah, I mean, Elliott Washington, if he can stay healthy and stop taunting, I think will be very, very good. We always liked his size, and he definitely has that kind of corner attitude that I think you need to be a step above. So I think that's great. But now let's go ahead and introduce
what worked for West Shore Home in terms of a brand building apparatus and what was fair for the athletic department and the university. And I think we got to the right place.
So you went to Penn State. You're familiar with Penn State. You know the fans. And there has been, I'm sure you're on the Twitter or X streets, a lot of people clamoring for Paterno Field. Do you have any reaction at all to that, or?
You know, that's something I really don't want to get too deep in the weeds on. Coach Paterno was there when I went to school there. You know, anybody who grew up as a Penn State fan is gonna, respect Joe's legacy. And the last thing I want to do is try to tarnish his legacy or erase his legacy or, any of the things that you heard about today. But really, it's about West Shore Home building their own legacy of service to the university, again, academically, athletically, philanthropically. I respect Joe's legacy. I always will. Mike Maldy's a good friend of mine, and he just put out a tweet, and he said, I played for Joe, my dad played for Joe, my brother played for Joe. Putting his name on the field was never about his legacy. Like, his legacy is about what we put on the field, about winning, about what we do outside the lines. And I thought it was well said, and, not looking to upset anybody by doing this. I just don't think Joe Paterno Field was ever going to be a reality, and people would need to realize that. So if that was, not going to be the case, then, this is a good thing. This is the best thing for the football program. This is the best thing for the athletic department. This is the best thing for the university. And I hope people just can respect that.
Yeah, we're both with you very much on that, BJ. And we just retweeted Michael Mahdi's tweets for anybody that is watching live and wants to see that. We just retweeted that as well. I think it's funny that anytime we talk about NIL in this space, the loudest people are the ones that are not participating or contributing. And so I guess, how do you manage, that the loudest people and honestly the majority of people continue to have the loudest of opinions when they're not the ones contributing, they're not the ones trying to make the football program better, albeit in this new world that we live in college football?
And they're also the people that were complaining about the naming rights deal too, right? So they complain when people don't give, they complain when people give. So I really just try to block out that noise. 90% of, what I got today from text messages and phone calls and emails and other things that I saw on social media were mostly positive. And I hope most people see it that way.
What is your, you've been helping out with NIL and now this naming rights thing, but what has been, I guess, the best thing that you've experienced through this relationship with Penn State so far, whether it's helping a specific player out or a specific event, or maybe this is it. Maybe this is the naming of the field is kind of that moment. I'm just curious, what's really stood out to you in the last 4.5 years of dealing publicly and building a relationship with Penn State?
Yeah, just getting to know Coach Franklin better and these kids and the way he runs that program and the way he mentors them and builds them into men. And they're all good kids, and nobody works harder than him. Nobody cares more than him. He catches a lot of heat too. Even, in years where we win 13 games and 2 playoff games, it's still not enough for most people. But I think what him and Pat and that whole staff is building over there is pretty special. And I think we're going to see a really special product on the field this year. Everything just keeps getting better year after year after year. And I think there's total alignment now within the university, the athletic department, and the football program. But these kids are really good kids when you get to know them. I've been proud to be able to partner with them on NIL and help them build their own brands. A lot of the things that we do with them are giving back to the community, whether it's Toys for Tots or food drives or things like that. But today's announcement was pretty exciting for myself, for my company, for our employees. And, once we actually see the name on the field and the name on the stadium, it'll be pretty humbling, and just really proud of being able to do that.
Yeah. Do you know what that's going to look like? Like, is it going to be on the stadium? Like, and where I don't know if you've even got too far into the weeds with that yet. Do you have any idea on how that's going to go?
So on the 25-yard line where they have the Big Ten logo, opposite that, you probably saw it for the college football playoff logo. So there'll be one logo on each of the 25s, and then there'll be some signage on the stadium and around the stadium as well.
A lot of fans would probably wish you just kick out the Big Ten logo and put yourself there instead. But no, that's really cool, and I think it just really shows that Penn State is committed to that said alignment and what needs to happen in order to continue to push this program forward. You hit on it a smidgen, but given that you've had these conversations with Coach Franklin over the last couple of years, we honestly come on this pod a lot and defend Franklin quite a bit. Is there any sort of insight you can give us and give our listeners that Franklin is the right guy for the job and what he's doing behind the scenes that maybe not everyone gets to see are the right things that are going to get this program over the hump?
Well, winning's a big part of it, but it's not everything. And that being said, I mean, we've been pretty successful over the past several years, putting out there the top 5, 6 program every single year. But just to see the way these kids come into the program, the way that he mentors them, and sends them off into life, as men and better individuals, and the discipline and the coaching and the teaching, his work ethic. Nobody works harder. Not many are better recruiters. And now he's put together what I would consider an all-star coaching staff. We probably have the 2 best coordinators in the country. And, he lets them cook. He lets them, do their thing. And I think that this coaching staff and all the returning veterans that we have come back this year have a chance to do something pretty special.
I think that's been one of the really cool parts of NIL, right? Is being able to bring so many of your stars back. Because that was something that, just 7, 8 years, hell, even 3, 4 years ago, you just didn't see. You saw if a guy has really 3rd or 4th rounder better grade, they were going to the NFL, and now they're coming back. And I mean, it has a whole lot to do with people like you that are so involved with NIL. And do you see that as a model going forward for them? Just focus. And how do you think they balance, between, bringing in recruits, bringing guys in from the portal, and then just retaining these juniors and seniors?
So I think the best example of that is Tyler Warren. He was considering going to the draft before last year's draft. He gets his draft grade, never a sure thing. So then you start doing the math of, if I go in the 2nd round, if I go in the 3rd round, if I go in the 4th round, how much is that contract going to be worth? How much of that guaranteed money versus, what can I make in NIL if I come back one more year and have a great year and improve my draft status? So, he probably was going to be a 3rd or 4th round draft pick last year. He comes back, has a monster year, and now he probably goes in the top 10 or top 15. So it was like absolute perfect situation for someone like that. So I think you'll start seeing more and more of that, to your point. To your second part of the question, I think Penn State does it better than anybody in the country in terms of building the team the right way, through recruiting, through development, and not relying on the portal to go out there and build your team and, bring guys in. They've had some, good portal guys come in like Chop Robinson and AJ Harris. They've done well with that. But for the majority, most of the starters on the field next year will have been drafted and developed at Penn State.
Fantastic. Well, BJ, I know you are a busy man, and I know you got another thing lined up here in a couple of minutes. So want to thank you for hopping on the pod, especially on a short notice. But you broke news today on a sleepy Monday in March. So we appreciate your time today. You have any final thoughts? And just by the way, I was doing some research before the pod, and I saw that West Shore Homes got this great bathroom reno deal, get a free shower add-on, and I'm actually looking at renovating my shower, so I might have to shoot you a DM later, see if we can negotiate some sort of deal on that.
Yeah, we're having probably our best promotion we've ever had. Buy one, get one free. We've never done it before. It's been running for the past 2 weeks, and it's been tremendous. So appreciate you bringing that up with a little
Hey, everyone's got a shower. Everyone's got a shower.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me on. Look forward to following you guys throughout the off season here and going into 2025 football season.
Yes,
Thank you, sir. You have a good night.
See you guys.
Have a good night. That was really good. Shout out to Cory for bringing BJ on here.
I tell you what, I have got to get better from a production standpoint on now we haven't had a guest on for a while, so I'm a little rusty.
That's okay. We did fine.
But we got to figure out a little bit better system there. But BJ, appreciate you coming on the show. I literally shot him a DM. Well, again, he was interacting with us this past weekend. Again, I asked, which by the way, we should read some of the names because they're really funny. I asked for some best names, worst names as far as like what the name will be for the field. And, he was one who tweeted back, said West Shore home field at Beaver Stadium. And Nate Bauer put those googly eyes. And in hindsight, he was letting us know literally 2 days ago. But we got some seriously good names here, Shawn. Einstein von Braun with the DeLuca red zone. I think that should happen regardless of West Shore home field. I think that could happen in addition. Somebody said the Sheets Hershey Yingling field, just get all of them in one shot. There's a couple that I can't say, but I would encourage you to go check them out as well. A lot of people were kind of battling back and forth on the Sheets or Wawa situation as well. I like the Dude Wipes field at Beaver Stadium. I thought that one was pretty funny. But anyway, thank you to BJ for hopping on the show. Shawn, you made the joke of it earlier, but I'll let you make the joke. How about that? I won't steal your thunder.
Oh, about the renovation?
No, that he's probably the richest person we've ever had on the show.
I think he is. Yes. Yeah. I looked up his net worth and he does well. We'll just say that.
I don't know how long I have to wait after making the joke, but like we seriously are thinking about doing a renovation on the bathrooms. And I'm like, seriously, it's like, I'm not joking. I'm not just trying to blow smoke up his butt. I don't need to renovate my entire main bathroom. I just need to do the shower. And I was like, maybe we'll renovate the entire guest bathroom as well.
Right.
And so it's like a perfect fit. So
just like your shower will be.
Yeah.
So that's Bath Fitter. Sorry, I don't want to promote a rival of BJ's, but yeah. And then I had to ask the paternal thing. I hope he wasn't offended.
No, I don't think he was offended.
But like it's on the Twitter streets, guys.
I think honestly it gives him an opportunity to answer it, right?
Yes, that's what I wanted to do. It wasn't a gotcha. I just wanted to give him, because he's one of us, you know what I mean? And he knows, what's being said, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't think it came off like a Joe Bot question. I think it was straight up, hey, here's what we're hearing. Here's a chance for you to say what you want or don't want to say about it.
Yes, exactly. That's all that was. So yeah. And I thought he gave a really good answer.
Yeah. And I think his most important point, whether people want to believe it or not, Mr. Lebrano, is that Paterno Field was never going to be a thing.
Yeah.
So, like, forget about it. And so, to his point, if it's not going to be Paterno Field, it might as well be West Shore home field.
Yeah, and this is, and like the other thing is, guys, this is part of what we've been asking for. Now, look, in a perfect world where money didn't exist, would it be great that if it was just Beaver Stadium forever and no corporate, staying on anything? Yeah, but we don't really live in that world. And this was a $50 million deal, and it's from somebody who's doing things the right way. Like I try to imagine myself too if I was rich. Like, what would I spend my money on? And this is probably some of what I would spend my money on. You know what I mean? NIL. And he, sometimes whenever you see those big gifts to the Beaver Stadium renovation project, you'll hear somebody say, well, why don't they just give it to the NIL fund? Well, this guy is doing both.
Yeah.
And there are only a few fans in the whole fan base that could do it. And this is one of the people doing it. So if we have to name the field after a sponsor, I'm good with West Shore Homes.
Well, and that's the thing too. Like, there's a lot of other big whales out there that aren't doing anything.
Yeah. They just went here and they don't do anything.
Right. And so this dude made a lot of money, and who knows what he was doing before NIL became legal. But now that it's legal, he's capitalizing on it. And like, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Because like, I would be very curious if you documented all of West Shore Homes biddings, so to speak. If you took all of that away, how bad of a situation would Penn State be in right now?
Yeah, because I mean, like we said, like a lot of the big,
like it if you're not like it or not, like it or not.
A lot of the big donors, and I mean, even somebody like Terry Pagula, who built the ice arena, you don't hear his name too much around football, and that's because he figured, well, I gave them tens of $millions to build the ice arena, and that's fair. But there are other people who haven't really done much, and they haven't contributed anything. And look, I'm not here to count anybody's money, but what I would say is the average Joe or Jane who's, making less than $100,000 a year and still, being able to scrape enough money to go to the games on Saturday. I mean, it's a lot to ask for them, but these big donors that are able to do more, I think it's good that they're doing more. So I think it's a net positive for sure.
You know what's going to piss people off, though? I'm just going to be honest about it.
What's that?
That people are not going to like that there's a logo on the actual field for it.
They will not. And look, guys, like I said, in an ideal world, would I like it to not have any corporate sponsors? Sure. But like, this is just kind of the direction we're going in. So it's kind of one of those things we kind of have to. I'm not even asking you to embrace it, but just.
I don't really care what you people think anymore.
Yeah, and the thing is too, I think Nate Bauer made this point today on Blue White Illustrated. People kind of answer with their pocketbooks, right? So if people were really ticked off about it not being paternal field or whatever, or Joe hasn't been honored yet, and I still don't know what that means with a lot of people. What does it mean to honor Joe? I still don't know what that fully means, because I think it changes from person to person. I think some people want the statue to be right next to James Franklin at all times on Saturdays, and I think if you were to name it Paternal Field, they would just say, well, where's the statue? Well, where's this? Why don't we honor him every halftime? Like, I think it would turn into that type of thing with people. So it's kind of a moving goalpost a little bit. And I just kind of think that's what would happen if the paternal field thing ended up happening. And people haven't stopped going to games because we haven't quote unquote honored Joe.
It's just like everything else, right?
Yeah, it really hasn't happened.
It's like when everyone says I'm quitting the NFL because they put end racism on the end zones.
Yeah.
Like that didn't stop anybody.
Yeah, you're still gonna be watching the NFL regardless. At least most people. And if you're not, somebody else is. So in the net, they don't really care. Penn State's not gonna care much. And that's just kind of where we are now. And God, Corey, like even when I was there, when I went to school at Penn State, I was there from 2014 to 2017. If you walked around campus, how many times did you ever hear anybody talking about Joe Paterno? Just didn't happen much. And now,
when they said they were going to the library, maybe.
Yeah, you would hear them talk about the library. That would be about it. And now these kids, I mean, they were like, if you're right now, that would mean that you were born in in 2007-ish. I mean, Joe Paterno stopped being the coach when you were 4 years old. So you don't have much of a memory of him. And I think things are starting to fade a little bit. And look, Joe's obviously a legend. He's the guy that I grew up with. And I got a lot of love. I got a lot of respect for Joe, but time moves on, guys. And I think the longer time goes on, the more we're able to move on a little bit. And like I said, I don't know what honor Joe means sometimes with some people. Some people would be able to define it for me, but a lot of people, it just changes. I don't know.
It's just like, I think it goes back to what he said tonight. It's not like it was the right way that Paterno would have wanted to be honored anyway. So like, I still
Joe was always talking about doing it all for the kids. Really, he never wanted it to be about him.
Right. I still say this to this day, since we've gone down this rabbit hole. I still think if they have the statue, which the funniest tweet ever, we never acknowledged it on the show, but rest in peace to Penn State's historian, Lou Prado, who died a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
Maybe we did mention it because I talked about the hockey, but regardless, I'm pretty sure he was the only one who knew where the statue was. They should take that statue and they should put it by the library. That's what they should seriously do, because that's where he invested his money. That's where he wanted his money to go. That's what he helped build, literally. And it would just make sense for it to be there if they were ever going to bring it back. It was never about the statue being put back in front of Beaver Stadium. I think people are misremembering things and wanting to remember it the way they want to, which is fine. They can romanticize things the way they want to. Bottom line is, I don't think Paterno would have ever wanted the field named after him, period. And so it's a non-starting argument.
And look, I think a lot of people are just mad about the way it ended with Joe. And they feel like he got a raw deal. And until in their mind that's rectified, they're going to kind of feel this way. And I think if you look back at what exactly happened, it's hard to say, right? Like what should have happened, and then reconcile that with what did happen. Because it was such a crazy situation back then. But I think that's where a lot of people come from, that Joe wasn't treated fairly, and Penn State never really worked to reconcile it with what happened. And they're gonna feel the way they're gonna feel. And that's kind of what I mean, guys. Like, by what does it mean to honor Joe? Well, a lot of people are just never gonna be happy because Joe was fired. And Joe had a lot of accusations against him, some of which I think were fair. Some of them probably weren't fair. And they're always going to be upset about the way things went down.
Yeah. We're not here to help you get over your issues.
No.
Therapy ain't free. Shawn, it's a privilege being back.
Yeah, very much so.
Real quick, One Take State says, this is the norm. My only gripe is the term. $50 million for 15 years seems like highway robbery for the name on such an iconic stadium. That wouldn't even cover Franklin's 10-year contract. Just seems very little. Again, this is not the stadium naming rights. This is the field naming rights. And I think that if you go look at the averages, One Take State, it's about right where everyone else is. I would say, I think Safe Flight Field at Ohio Stadium is $2 million a year. So it's all roughly right around that number. So take a look at the averages.
I had a similar reaction early this morning until I compared it with other places, that it's sort of in line with a lot of the other places. The thing is $3.5 million going to mean the same in 10 years that it does now? You know what I
That's a
mean?
deep question, Shawn.
With inflation and everything. So might end up not being that great of a deal after 10 years. Just with the way money works.
It's a long contract. I'll give you that. Regardless, right?
Yeah.
Like, not saying they couldn't re-up in 5 years, but it's a long deal.
Yeah, and this could always be renegotiated. Or
Yeah.
maybe they're even indexing with inflation. I don't know. I doubt it, but you never know.
That's the other thing too. Like, we always say these things as if like contracts don't always change after like 5-10 years anyway.
Yeah,
Like,
that's true.
look where football was 15 years ago in 2010 versus right now.
I mean, heck, look at James Franklin's contract. Like 4 years ago, people thought like the apocalypse was happening because we signed to a 10-year contract. Now it's looking pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, that's all I got, Shawn.
All right. Oh, also Smith Filbert is gone. So he has hit the portal. It was talked about a little bit last year that he had some portal interest from teams. Penn State was able to retain him, but they were not able to retain him this year. I was hoping they would, because I do think he gave us some versatility. I thought he could slide over, play some tackle. I think we're a little thin. But not going to have, unless he decides to come back, we're not going to have him next year.
Yeah, that one stinks, to be honest with you. That one really stinks.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I like Smith Filbert. I thought he was pretty good last year.
Yeah, and I liked his size. I think his size helps us at times.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's a grown man. He's 23 or 24 years old.
He's a grown man. He's 40.
Don't come after him though.
All right. Thank you for listening. Again, thank you to BJ Werzyn for hopping on for about 25 minutes. If you missed it,
go back and listen.
That's Shawn Kane. I'm Cory Lestochi. We will not have a podcast next week, just by the way. But we'll be back here shortly.
All right.
Again, Shawn Kane, Cory Lestochi. You've been listening to Hardcore.